Good evening, folks. We're going to do something I haven't done yet. I am going to show you my entire knife collection, or at least all the ones that I can find currently, and I think this is majority of all my knives. I've got a whole big spread right here. This is not my whole knife collection. I have another 30 or so laying on the bed behind me. These will be fixed blades. These will be folders. These will be autos. So the way I'm going to go is I'm just going to grab some knives, talk about them for a second, and then we'll move on to the next knife. I'm not going to go into great detail about each knife, but I will show you the details about each knife, and then we'll go from there. If you're watching this video, my buddy James from Knife Hand Customs, I have some of his knives. He hand makes knives. He is a Marine Corps veteran. We served together. We went to Kuwait together, come home together, and he makes some pretty awesome knives you'll see here in a little bit. So make sure you give his channel a follow. It's Knife Hand Customs, or actually I believe it's now Project Knife Hand is his outdoors channel. So let's just jump into this. What I'm going to do first is I am going to show you what I'm carrying at my EDC now. Well, not this second, but if you were to see me out on the street and ask me what's in your pocket, this is what would be in my pocket. Now, I'm only talking about knives. I'm not talking about any other EDC stuff. We don't want any mission creep on this video. Just want to go into what we currently have right now. So this is the knife. Well, now that I'm on video, it makes me look dumb that I don't know how to do it. This is the knife that I'm carrying all the time right now. This is my Spyderco Paramilitary 2, made in the USA. It is their, what they call Burple, which is blue-purple micarta handles. It's got the typical lock from Spyderco. So this is what I'm carrying right now. This is pretty much what I'd say is my favorite knife at the moment. So this is what I carry in my pocket. And then if I need a fixed blade, occasionally when I go out in the woods or something, I will stick my ESEE 3 on my side. For the longest time, I wanted one of their Venom blades, the Venom green blades with the orange handle. And finally, I finally started buying knives again in a place where I can spend the extra money on good knives. And this was my first ESEE knife that I picked up. So usually I'll have this like on a belt, carrying it like, carrying it on my side, kind of like how you'd carry a pistol. I'll carry this on one side and my pistol on the other. So this will be on my side, and then this will be in my pocket. So the next knife, if I don't grab this knife, it's going to be either this. This is the Kizer Drop Bear. 20 CV steel. There you can see it's the Drop Bear. This collar blue is a Knife Center exclusive. And this knife is just, I mean, it's incredibly smooth. Let me get it back here on camera. See if you can see. A little bounce back. But I mean, this knife is just so smooth. It's easy to hold. It's a good, you know, it feels good in your hand. I like the blade shape, and this is just a really good around knife. If I'm not grabbing this one, this is the standard. Anybody that likes knives, watches knife videos, probably has this. I'm not as good as flipping this one. It's the Benchmade 940. Usually when I'm playing with this one, I'm just using the access lock, flipping it like this. I can do the thumb lock, but this is how I normally play with this one. The Benchmade 940. Great knife. The only bad thing I could say about this is just the steel on this knife, to me, every Benchmade I've ever owned, it's really hard to sharpen. Once you get it sharpened, I mean, they're great knives, but to me, it seems like it takes a bit to get them to sharp. But once you do, they're great. The other one that I've been carrying a lot is the SOG. This is the SOG Terminus XR LTE. You see it's got the carbon fiber. I like the collars, the carbon fiber and the gold or copper look. Now this messed with me a little bit at first I finally figured it out. I kept thinking that I had to pull down on the button and flip it at the same time. The thumb lock I haven't gotten figured out, but I mean, that is smooth. Well, that time I didn't open it all the way because of my hand. But this, I just think this is a really, really good looking knife. One of my followers on Facebook had told me to look into the SOG Terminus. And then when I saw this color combination, I just knew I had to have this one. Another one that's a budget knife, what I think may be one of the best budget knives. This is the CRKT Facet. When I first saw this knife, it really reminded me, I guess, a little bit of the blade shape. Just, I guess, the tip. It made me think of like a smoother, slimmed down version of the 940. And I've made a video before, and I said, is the CRKT Facet as good as a Benchmade? And it's not, but you get the drift. I mean, the very first time I saw this, I saw another YouTube show this knife, and I just had to have it. I love the look of this knife. It's a frame lock, and it's an assisted opening knife. I'm gonna see if you can see it or hear it. And it's just, see if you can see right there's where it catches. I just think it's really smooth. And if I'm not doing any kind of like serious hard work, if I'm just, out for the day doing errands or something, I'll stick this one in my pocket. Here's another one of a good knife that I like. This is the Damned Designs Banshee with the tan scales. I have another Damned Design knife actually in route. It has, I think I did one with the white scales. The blade is different. I can't remember exactly which blade. I order so many daggone knives, I can't remember what exactly the blade looks like, but it should be here soon. This one, I really like these because of the ram's head. I drive a 2012 Ram 2500 diesel, 6.7 Cummins diesel, and I really liked their design on that. Plus, I like the blade, the knife, the blade design. It's not really all that practical, but I like the way it looks. And a lot of times for me, just how a knife looks is, I mean, that's everything to me. Obviously, I want something to perform, but I really just like looking at them. We'll jump into the Civivi Elementums. If you look, there's several of them laying here. This was my first Civivi Elementum with just the maroonish red skin scales, and I put a titanium pocket clip on there. Excuse me. Put the titanium pocket clip on there. I may change these scales eventually, or I may just get a Elementum in every collar. And then if you see, I've got two of the Desert Warriors, and I have another one to order, and I'll tell you why. So, I've got two girls. My oldest turned 14 in January, and she doesn't really necessarily like pink stuff. So, I ordered the knife, and my thought was, I'll let her see it, pretend like it's mine, and if she does like the color, then I'll give it to her. And that's exactly what happened. I showed it to her. She thought it was cute, so she ended up getting one of them. And then I wanted one for myself, so I ordered it. And then my youngest turns 8 in July, and if she's good, she may get one for her birthday. I just like the collar, the blue collar, how all the hardware has the different colored screws. So it's unique. It's the Desert Warrior pattern with the sprinkles is a Blade HQ exclusive. Let's see where we go next. We got these knocked out. We're going to scoot them over because we've already went through them. We'll move this one over. We'll go with this one. This is the CRKT Dextro. I like the look of the knife. Like I said a moment ago, I mean, how a knife looks is ultimately what I decide. I like the green. See if you can see the green spacer. I'm a fan of those bright colors on knives. I think it's just a good looking knife. And I'd be lying if I didn't say that I got it because of Dextro. Sounds an awful lot like Destro, and I was a big G.I. Joe fan as a kid. It is a Schwartz design. I'm not even sure what blade steel this is. It's a bit heavy, but not so heavy that it's cumbersome. So that's another good one. We'll get into some more fixed blades here in a minute. I want to go through these real quick. Civivi Mini Praxis. I seen a video earlier today on, actually on YouTube, and he was saying that this is the replacement for the Elementum. He said, talking about how this was a better knife. And I would say it probably is. Just the blade shape, the handle. I mean, it feels really good in your hands. It's a small one. This is the Mini Praxis with the green G10, and of course it's a flipper. And this is the full-size Praxis. I'll lay them here side by side, and you can see the difference on them. So you see how huge those are, or how huge that one is compared to that one. This one has the copper flake in it. Let me close these. Here's another from Spyderco. I got this one from the GoingGear.com EDC Club. Now, I'm not real good flipping this one because it's much different than a normal Spyderco. Well, there we go. I got that one just fine. I like the looks of this one. This one came in a surprise box. I opened the box, had no idea there was this knife, and the next one I'll show you was in it. It was their premium box. There was supposed to also be some kind of light that wasn't in there that didn't get shipped. I did a whole video about opening that box and my disappointment with the GoingGear.com EDC Club. But it's CPM 830V. It's got, of course, the Spyderco Spider in the little hole. I was shocked to learn that this one's made in Taiwan. I thought all the Spydercos were made in the U.S., but I was wrong about this one. It's got their, compression lock on the back. And then here was the other knife that I got. This is I had the box laying here. I don't remember. Gear for Life. It was a Gear for Life Fast Eddy. This is not a bad little knife. I believe it's probably on the cheaper end, the $40, $50 range. I want to say I think they claimed it was $49.99. And if you look, you can see that it's got the little buffalo head on it. I really like that. So it's not a bad little knife. Deep carry pocket clip. Got a hole to put a, like a carabiner or something on it. Or not a carabiner, but one of the beads and things people put on them, a tether or whatever you want to call it. Here is the... Now this one is hard for me to flip too. Well, if I can even do it. I have to... There we go. This is the Appalachian Drifter 2. This one does have a liner lock in it. This is from Civivi. And this is just the Appalachian Drifter. This one does not have a regular lock. This has a double detent slip lock on it. This one's easier to flip than this one. I mean, you've seen it's got that front flipper on it. I'm not... How you do those? I haven't practiced with a front flipper. I know y'all are probably laughing at me in the comments, but that one's really hard. I'm just not used to it. We'll go with, I think, well, that's not quite the last Civivi on here. This was my very first button lock knife, the Civivi Conspirator. I like the collar, the Damascus look. I mean, I know it's not true to Damascus, but it's got the Damascus design on it. And if there's enough light and see the right collar, this is like a grayish scale on it. And this is a big knife. Let's see, what we'll start with, here's my Kershaw Strata. This thing is just ridiculous. It reminds me of like something you would shave, like a straight razor. I'm not even sure what I would do with this knife. Kershaw obviously made in China, or not all their knives are, and I've got some USA made Kershaws, but this one, definitely made in China. I like the black. I like the shape of the handle. I like the big blade. You'll see when we get a little bit further, I like unique big blades, but this is the Kershaw Strata. That blade is, for size reference, you can see, what is that? It's 4 1/8, 4 1/4. Really big long blade. Let's go with the USA made Kershaw. Here's my first auto. It's the Kershaw Launch 11, made in the USA. I wasn't real sure. I ordered this and I wasn't real sure. I like knives that I can open and close one-handed. This one, I mean, I can do it, but I'm a little clumsy trying to do it one-handed, and I don't really like that. But I really do like the knife, At first, I was a little bit, like I said, I was a little bit apprehensive just because I can't fidget with it. But I've got other knives to fidget. So this is the Launch 11. And then I've got the Kershaw. I believe this is the Launch 10. Again, this goes back to what I was saying a minute ago with the goofy little blades. You know, I like goofy looking different blades. Here we've got the CRKT Overland Compact. Again, with the bright orangish bronze collar with the green. This is a little tiny guy. The whole knife is not much bigger than the blade on that CRKT Strata. But that's the Overland Compact. They make an Overland full size. This one is a Boker. It's a little neck knife, and it's almost like a scalpel. Now, I knew this was small when I ordered it, but man, this blade is what, like not even 2 inches? So it's a super tiny small blade. My thinking was that I could use this to like skin deer with. I'm a deer hunter, obviously. It's an outdoors channel. And I was thinking maybe use it like a scalpel when I'm skinning the hide off of a deer or a bear. But I didn't get it till after deer season, so I haven't got to use it yet. Here is the Kershaw Decibel. This one I've not got real good flipping it. I just thought this looked kind of futuristic. It's super sharp. I've made a video of, I think, opening some corn, some deer corn or something like that. But yeah, that is the Kershaw. Kershaw Decibel, rather. Let me know in the comments, like, if you have one of these knives and you have like a different variation of it, tell me. I want to see them. I know I did a video. It was actually a short, or you know, if you're watching YouTube, it's a short. If you're on Facebook, it's a reel. I did a video of all my Civivi knives yesterday, I think, maybe today. If you're watching this is Tuesday, March 14th. So I did a video either yesterday or today with all my Civivi knives. But tell me what you think is next. I know a Civivi button lock Elementum's on the way, or on the list. I want to get an Elementum fixed blade. But if you see anything here that you like, I want to hear. I want to hear what knives you like, and then tell me what you think I should get next. Here is the Civivi Baby Banner. This is another little guy. I bought this. Again, this is one of those where I didn't realize how small it was. I think this might have been my first Civivi that I bought. Either the Baby Banner or the Elementum was my first one that I bought, I believe. And it's quite a bit smaller than I thought. I mean, I knew it was small, but it was even smaller than I had thought it was going to be. Now these are going to be a little bit controversial. I've done a video on them. This is the Osborne 940 Auto, but this is a Chinese knockoff of the 940 Auto. I didn't even know they made an Osborne 940 Auto because I'd never looked for one because I already had a 940 until I saw this on one of the Chinese websites. Now, I'm not going to post a link or tell you where to get it. I'm sure you can find it. But I don't know. I don't know if the colors on these is true to the 940 Auto, the real one. It's definitely not true to the this is a real genuine 940, and this is obviously not. So I don't know if the 940 Auto has this color green. I don't know what I'm gonna do with this knife. I mean, these are like a $250 knife if you buy the genuine. I want to say this one was 30 bucks on the knockoff site. I mean, it looks like a decent blade. I can't really tell a whole lot different. But, you know, I would not recommend going to get them unless you're going to do it for a review or if you just like the action and like playing with it. But don't get one of these if you need to trust it, you know, I don't want to say if your life depends on it, because I don't know why, you know, why your life would depend on in a situation. I mean, I can think of a lot, but the average person's never going to need a knife to save their life with. But I don't know that I would get it in a situation like that. For just playing around with it, it's not bad. Now this is a different story. This is a Benchmade out the front. This is also a Chinese Wish.com. I say Wish.com, but I don't even know if that's the one it come off of. It did come off a Chinese website. I really just like the skull. I mean, you've seen my tattoos. I've got skulls and stuff on me. And I have never owned an out the front. And I was like, you know what? I just want to see how they function. So I got this one. The blade is dull. This side's a little bit sharper than the other. But if you look, and again, I don't own any other out the front, so maybe this is normal. But I want to see if you can see that play in it. So this is something, and I've done a whole video on it explaining, you know, that it was a knockoff. I'm not trying to pass it as a real one. Again, it was different for me. And before I went and spent a whole bunch of money on like a Microtech or, you know, or the real Benchmade one, I just want to see what I thought. And man, I don't know. I think they're a gimmick. Tell me in the comments what you think if you have an out the front. I mean, most knives are probably gimmicks. But tell me what you think. If you really like the out the fronts, tell me in the comments. I want to know if I should get one. Give me a recommendation. I really like the looks of, and again, it goes back to me liking weird stuff. I know Microtech has the zombie. It has the zombie green one that looks like the blue splash on it. If I was going to get one, I believe that's probably one I'd get. So that's that one. We'll move on to a couple fixed blades. Now, I'm going to be honest. I don't remember. Maybe y'all will recognize that logo. I don't remember the name of this knife. This came in a battle box. I was subscribed to Battle Box for a couple months. I got a couple decent things in there, but for the most part, Battle Box was... I mean, I canceled it because I just wasn't happy with the stuff I was getting. It feels like it's a good knife. This was like in their premium box, and they said this was like I want to say like a $149 knife. And it might be. Feeling it, it feels like it's good steel. I mean, this is, I guess, more of the tactical variety. Something if you had to stab somebody with to save your life. Although, if I'm in a situation like that, I'm pulling my pistol out. But, I mean, you get my drift. This was the sheath that come with it, and it didn't even have like a belt clip or anything like that. So that was Battle Box. All right, next we're going to do a couple of fixed blade knives. Now, these first couple I'm going to do, again, they're from my buddy Knife Hand Customs. So check him out. I'll tag his page in the description. Knife Hand Customs, he's a Marine Corps veteran. He hand makes stuff. So at first, when he first got started, this is one of the first prototypes knives he made. This is called the Battle Ridge EDC Skinner. Battle Ridge is actually the name of the place where I have a hunting club. I have a 1,500-acre hunt club. And he came up with the name Battle Ridge to name it after my hunting club. Now, if you look, the handle's big and bulky. Like I said, this was either number 1, 2, or 3 that he ever done. Because I bought 2 of them. I gave one to my dad. I kept one. And then James has one also. And I don't know if, I want to say this was the very first one that was made. But I don't know that to be true. He could, you know, answer all that in the comments whether this was the first one or not. But I know him, my dad, and me have the 3 prototypes. It's a really good blade. D2 steel, maybe. I know he's going to yell at me for saying, because I can't remember. But his handles have come a long way since this very first one. I keep this one put up. I don't carry it only because sentimental value, where it was the first one. I don't ever want to take a chance on busting this up or getting blood on it. And he laughs every time I tell him that. But I can't do it. I just keep this one put up. So the next one that he had made me was this little guy. This one's kind of tight getting it out of there. So this one day we were talking and he had a bunch of leftover scrap made over of some of his knives. And I don't know if it was something he's seen or something, but he just said, I can make some little cleavers. I was like, absolutely, I want one of the cleavers. So this is what he came up with. This is, I think, resin epoxy. Again, he's probably going to yell at me because we've had this conversation multiple times. But if you see, I mean, the whole blade's like 4.5 inches. And like I was talking about with the scalpel earlier, my thinking was if I hold it like this, if you've ever skinned a deer, you know, when you're pulling the hide off of it, you can get in there and peel the hide away. So that was my thought. And I have skinned a deer with it. I didn't like how the video turned out, so I just never posted it. This fall, I am going to skin one with it to show, you know, exactly how good it is. So if you want one, you know, something like these, reach out to James at Knife Hand Customs. Like I said, I'll link it in the description so you can check out his page. He makes some really cool stuff. And then I'll show you the third and final knife that I have of his so far. I've got another one on the way that I'll tell you about in a minute. So again, this is also the Battle Ridge EDC Skinner. Now this one does have even more sentimental value for me. So you see the handle's much smoother. It looks a lot better. It's not as bulky. This specific knife, see if you can see these. This is deer antler on both sides. Well, you can even see the lines in it right there. These antlers came from the very first whitetail deer I ever killed. It was a spike that I killed when I was 14 or 15 in like 95, 96. And he put those in there. And then he tried to use, you see the blue hues, and he tried to do blue and gold. The gold didn't show through as much. I mean, it's there, but it's not quite gold. Just because I guess with the antlers and the blue. Being in West Virginia, we're WVU Mountaineer fans, and their colors are blue and gold. So he was trying to give me a blue and gold accent, and I love this knife. Again, this is another one this year that I think by the time that I ordered this knife from him, I think I hadn't harvested any other animals to try it with, or I think maybe I'd killed my bear, but I didn't have this with me, or I don't remember exactly what happened, but I didn't get to use this to skin an animal with this year, and I will, or last year rather, but I will this year. So that's the last of the other ones. He's got another version of, it's not the EDC Skinner, it's got like a slimmer profile he made for my wife. It's got genuine olive wood from Jerusalem, and that's what he made the handle out of, so that's coming in the mail. We're going to jump into a couple more. I believe these are all my CJRB knives. We'll go with the CJRB Lago. It is a button lock. This one actually belongs to my youngest. She likes the button lock on this, says it's really smooth. Again, CJRB Lago. These are the exact same knife, different colors. This is one of, I guess, 2022. This was like one of the button locks of the year. CJRB Pyrite. It's a really smooth knife. And here's the one with the black handle, but with the stone-washed blade. This one is mine. This one is my oldest. I actually bought one of each for my kid, but then my youngest liked this one better than this one, so I traded her. So this one's mine again, and she has this one. I have them little EDC bags where they can carry their gear, flashlights, ink pens, pens, stuff to write on in their knives. Here's another CJRB. I can't remember the name of this one. I like the blade shape of this. Again, this is one of those where I thought it would be good to skin deer with, but I don't know. I've never tried it. I just got it, played with it a little bit, put it away. And this is actually my first CJRB. This thing is just absolutely ridiculous. I did take the pocket clip off just where the knife is so big. I figured, hey, probably, you know, it's too big in my pocket as it is. But this blade, I mean, it's just ridiculous when you look at this blade. So it's not that it's so long, but man, that blade's like, can you see that? What was that, 1.5 inches wide in some places? I personally love it, but it's just ridiculous. All right. This has had some wear. Again, my friend James from Knife Hand actually had this knife originally. I bought it from him. This is the Benchmade, was it Bushcrafter 162, I believe? And it goes back to, like I said, with the other Benchmades, it's taken me a long time to get a knife sharp, or get it sharp when it comes to Benchmade. Once it's sharp, it's good. But I mean, I think this one's even had some used baton and wood and stuff when James had it. This knife, I believe, was my very first Benchmade knife. And matter of fact, I believe this was probably my very first knife that I actually spent good money on. This is what I believe the Backcountry, Benchmade Backcountry. I mean, you see that thing's had some sharpening done to it. I've kind of jacked up the handle a little bit, carrying it. I lost it at one point, and luckily I found it. And if you see, I mean, that's why this cord's on it, so I can tie it to a bag or something if I have it out. Was this the High Country or the Back Country? I can't remember the exact name of it. This thing's got some wear. This was my very first, like, I don't want to say high dollar knife because I know some of you watching this probably have $400 or $500 knives. But for me at the time, this was like my first, real expensive knife. All right, so I told you something wrong. I told you the Benchmade Back Country was the first Benchmade I owned. That was actually false. This was my first Benchmade. I forgot that I bought this first. So this was my first, again, what I'll call high dollar at the time knife. Obviously now I've got some that's like 3 times the cost of this. But this is the Benchmade Griptilian. And you can see this thing has had some wear. I've had this one for several years. I don't know why I got this serrated. I guess I thought it was cool at the time. But I mean, it's had a whole lot of wear and tear on it. If you look, the blade, I really probably need to send it into Benchmade and have them clean it up and sharpen it. But that's my Benchmade Griptilian. That was actually the first, what I say, knife, and not dollar store gas station knife. And I'm not knocking those because if you've seen this video, I have a bunch of them. But it was the first one that I had owned. Here is Benchmade Mini Bug Out. I've got the orange handle, which I may change. I've thought about getting some Flytanium scales for this, but I really like the orange. Orange is, I'm not going to say one of my favorite colors, but I really like Blaze Orange. So most of y'all know what the Mini Bug Out looks like. This is just the Benchmade Bug Out. Now again, this is one of those knives that I bought this off of a Chinese website years ago. I didn't know the difference. Well, let me take that back. I knew the difference between a knockoff knife and a real knife. I was curious because this is the first knockoff I'd ever bought. And I was like, man, there's no way that for that price it can be that knife. And I'm going to tell you. Now, obviously, one's a mini and one's a full size. And the colors are different, but I just can't tell them apart. Somebody had told me that the C's in Benchmade were different. And it almost feels like I tried to, like maybe the Omega spring was sticking. I was trying one day, just trying to see if I could figure out what the differences were. And I couldn't. So I imagine the blade steel is probably cheap. Chinese blade steel is how I got it so cheap. But I've never put it to the test. I mean, it says it's the S30V. Same as this one. But I'm sure it's not S30V. It's probably some cheap aluminum that would bend if I put it hard work on it. But yeah, again, I'm not going to recommend you go get them. But if you wanted one just for looks, I'm sure you can figure out where to get them. We're going to jump into some of my CRKTs. Here's the CRKT Tuna. I won this on a raffle on Facebook. Burnley Designs. This has got very similar color to the Mini Overland. This is a good feeling knife. Well, now that I'm on camera, well, good Lord. What am I doing wrong? There we go. Yeah, there we go with that one. This is the CRKT Symmetry. I think this is a really good knife. Like if you were going to somewhere more formal, what they call a gentleman's knife. I mean, it looks really pretty. I don't like that it's got that double detent slip joint. Those make me nervous. It took me a while to figure out how to flip this thing. But it's a gorgeous knife. I mean, the real pretty like titanium-ish finish on the, the hardware and the clip down here. But it's a really pretty knife. Now this one, I haven't figured out how to flip this thing. This is another CRKT. This is the Inara. I bought both of my girls this one for Christmas. They were on sale right before Christmas. They were on sale on Knife Center, I think for like $20, $19. And I wanted both of my girls to have one. And my youngest has lost hers already. That's why she doesn't have real expensive knives yet. Here's another, what you would call a gentleman's knife. This is a really, really good looking Boker. I can't remember the exact actual name on it, but it says the Boker Plus on there. And this is another one that you could put in your pocket, pull it out at a kid's birthday party to help with wrapping paper opening or something. Just a really, really pretty knife. Now, this next group, they're all made by the same company. if you have knives, you know Mora. Now, some of these, before I pull them out, might be a little bit discolored. This one's not. If somebody told me they had 20 bucks, I would tell them to go to Amazon and order them a Mora knife. They, in my opinion, they dull pretty quick, but they also sharpen pretty quick. You can just take a cheap Walmart sharpener and run it through there a couple times, and they are good to go again. I mean, if you've seen this one, it's been sharpened quite a bit. I think all of these are the exact same Mora. You see this one's got a bit of discoloration. These are a Swedish knife. And I've bought probably 10 of these and put them in my vehicles, give them away as to friends. That's another thing that these are good for, because I think now with inflation and stuff, the prices may be a lot more, but I think these knives were like $19.99 a piece. They feel good in your hands. I don't know how they would do if you were trying to baton wood. I imagine they wouldn't do all that great. But like I said, they do dull pretty quick, but they sharpen pretty quick. So I've used these a lot for like skinning deer. I don't think I've used them for cutting up deer meat, but I've used them for skinning and things like that, cutting rope, things like that. Good to have for like in your tackle box, or, if you're fishing. So like if you need to cut string or, bleed a fish out or something, these are great knives for that. All right, so this next set of knives, this is a knife that my dad bought me for Christmas a couple years ago. It's a non-locking knife. It's a Case XX. It's made in the USA. If you look, I mean, it's got a little bit of rust on it and stuff. But, for sentimental value, my dad buying it for me, I've kind of, where it doesn't have a pocket clip, I don't really carry it a whole lot because I'm nervous, worried about losing it. But this is just a great little knife. This is another one that I believe Dad had bought for me. Another Case XX. This one's also made in the U.S. Now, this one does have a lock on it. This is like some of the knives I would have carried. I've had several of these when I was young. And it's got you can look at the curve of that blade. It's not a bad looking camouflage knife, and if you like case knives, it's a good knife. This knife, now, this thing, I bought this knife in North Carolina in 2020. Me and James from Knife and Customs, one of my buddies, or two other buddies of mine, we all served in the Marine Corps together, and we got together and went down to Lake Norman in North Carolina and met up for a weekend. And I bought this down there that weekend, and then come home and I lost it. And then I found it last year in my yard. So this knife was like in my yard for 2 years. And this is pretty much, I mean, you can see a little bit of rust down there. It's a Gerber knife. I believe this was the Flatiron, I think is what this one was called. It's got a little bit of rust on here, as I've just never really cleaned it up. It did have a bunch of dirt on it, so I cleaned the dirt off of it, obviously, but I've never done much else with it. And that's the Gerber Flatiron. I've got another couple of cheap Gerbers. I think these probably came with, probably came in a pack when I got a, that doesn't belong in there, but it fit just nice, didn't it? I think I was probably using that to put scope rings on. But I think this probably come in a pack with some Gerber multi-tools. I don't even know. I'm sure these are probably Chinese-made Gerbers. Here's another little one. These would be good for like putting in a vehicle or something. Something if you're just cutting rope or cutting a piece of paper or something like that. This knife is actually a knife from Ka-Bar. I was watching a video, this was a Knife Center video, and they were talking about the best cheap knives, and this kept coming up over and over again. As you can tell, I mean, that coating isn't on there very good. I've already tore it off there, but it's not a bad little knife. I mean, made by Ka-Bar. Ka-Bar had the Marine Corps knives that I have one to show you. It's actually not a actual Ka-Bar brand, but it looks like a Ka-Bar. It's laying over on my bed. I'll have to grab it in a moment. But it's a Dozier design Ka-Bar. I think when I bought this last year, it was like $25, $25, and it's a good little knife. I've used it. I mean, you can see there's wear on it, but the coating wore out. So, I mean, it is cheaper. It's made in Taiwan. But if you're looking for something under 40 bucks, it's not a bad knife. This is one, I really like this knife. I don't carry it much because now that I've got more expensive knives, but just the blade shape, this thing was super sharp. I don't know. I haven't picked it up in a while. I like the look of it, the way the blade shape, the handle. You know, the handle was very similar to like the CRKT Facet I showed you earlier. So maybe that's why. I just have a thing for the handle the way they're shaped, but that's another Gerber. Now these next ones, these are all Kershaws. I think I even got these in a pack around the holidays at Christmas. Walmart sells these Kershaws dirt cheap. It's a flipper. I mean, they're Chinese-made Kershaws, but if you need some knives, wait around Christmas time, and I think you can get them for, I think last year was a pack of like 3 for like 19 bucks, 20 bucks, something like that. There's a second. I think this one's the same, except I don't think this one's, oh no, yeah, these are the exact same knife, aren't they? Yeah, these are the same knife. Well, the blade still looks different, maybe. I don't know. Cheap knives. Now, I'm going to show you one. It's a bit ridiculous. Now, again, this was a Walmart blade. This is a Camelus, however you pronounce it. You know, stab myself pulling this thing. This is like a big old chisel. I mean, can you see how thick that is? That thing's 1/4 of an inch thick. 1 1/4 inches that way. This thing weighs, I don't know, daggone near a pound. I guess you could use this for baton and wood, and got a rasp on the back of it. Again, it's another one of those things where I like goofy stuff, so I bought this goofy knife. I don't know that I'd recommend it to anybody for anything. But yeah, I can't even remember what the cost was. I think it's one of those where I was bored in Walmart. It's like, hey, that looks ridiculous. Let's pick that up. Now, here's another Camelus that I think came from Walmart. And man, I always liked how this knife feels. Like this rubbering feel and the way it's shaped. I mean, it fits your hand really good. The blade you can get the blade decently sharp. Just obviously with cheaper steel, it's going to dull faster. But I've used this a lot for skinning deer and things of that nature, and I really like this knife. It's got the cheap, you know, plastic scabbard that tears up real easy. But I think this was a holiday deal from Walmart 2 years ago. This one is a Kershaw fixed blade. This is another one of those where I fell for the video. Hey, this is a great budget knife. My wife and my daughters got this for me for either my birthday or Father's Day last year. And again, it's another one where it feels great in your hands. You can choke up on it. And it would be great for, you know, just about anything. Cutting rope, skinning deer, things of that nature. It's got that little bit of texture right there so you get a good grip on it. I've carried it a couple times when I was going out in the woods just doing some scouting. Just never really killed anything when I had it. So I never got to actually use it. All right, last couple. I have lost track. I don't keep count. I don't count how many knives I have. And again, I know it's not all of them. I've got a couple other. I've got a bunch of the Havillands with the, you know, with the blades that you can swap off, the razor blades you can swap off. I've got a bunch of those in different places, in different gear bags and stuff. We're going to start with the buck knives. I bought these at the Rocky Boot Outlet in Ohio. Now this thing has seen a lot of work, a lot of time skinning deer, cutting up deer meat. If you look, it's not even, I never even cleaned it after the last time. It's a USA made buck knife. I think you can get handles for them, but man, this knife, it's super light. And like I said, I've done a lot of deer skinning and a lot of deer meat cutting up with this knife. It does have a little bit, I mean, the sheath is kind of rigid. It's not the real cheap stuff. And here is the smaller version of that, I think. Oh no, okay. Yeah, this one, it's like a little razor blade USA made buck knife. And again, I've used this a lot for skinning deer, not so much cutting meat up, but I've used it for skinning the deer out. Just a skeletonized piece of steel. And that's it on that one. This is another Camelus knife. This one may have come with one of the other ones I showed earlier. I can't remember. I know this one probably, I think all the Camelus knives I own have come from Walmart. I don't know. I don't know a whole lot about this knife. I haven't used it much, if any at all. It's the titanium line of Camelus. It's got the speed holes in it, so it's fast when you're stabbing somebody. I'm joking. Obviously, that is very much a joke. It's not speed holes for stabbing them. Now, these next two, again, these come in, it's called Outdoor Element. These come in a battle box. It's supposed to be, it's the Phoenix Feather from Outdoor Element, and it's got like supposed to be a wrench here. I don't know. I don't know if it's good. I don't know if it's good steel. It says it's made in China. This was, I think, maybe the box that I got when I finally canceled Battle Box, because I was like, yeah, you know what, I've had enough. Here's the other version of that. There's something like you can take. I mean, look, it's got a freaking flame thrower on it. There's something like you can take this knife and take this apart. I don't know, but it's supposed to have, like, this is supposed to be for like pulling, you know, the zipper for skinning a buck. It's the Phoenix Talon. It says it's D2 steel. I don't know. It's a bit ridiculous. I don't know that I would ever use this for anything. I don't know that I would ever carry it. I don't know, but I wanted to show it to you guys. You can tell me what you think if you had Battle Box with this in it. Here's the last, I know it's the last one I've got for tonight. This is the ridiculous CRKT Razel Nax. Now, I have done a full video on this one on the channel previously, so if you want to go check it out, you can. This knife is supposed to be a mixture between an axe and a knife. I had to find this one because this was in my pouch, because I take this with me when I go to my hunting club, in case I need to, you know, cut down any. I think what I would use this mostly for is like if I'm setting up a blind to hunt in, or a tree stand for just reaching out and swacking small limbs that may be in my shooting lane. I believe that's what I would probably use this for. But that's it. That is the last of my knife collection that I know of. Again, I've got a bunch of those like interchangeable blades. I know I've got a couple. I've got a cold steel interchangeable blade that I used during deer season. It was laying in a drawer. I apparently never cleaned it up. That's why it's not in the video. But for the most part, this is the big, huge bulk of my knife collection. So if you're watching this on YouTube, I would appreciate if you give it a like and subscribe to the channel. If you're watching this on Facebook, I'd appreciate a follow, smashing that like button, because it helps with the algorithm to get it out there to more people. And if you like what I'm doing and want to see more of it, let me know in the comments. Tell me which one of these knives was your favorite, and which knife that I've shown do you have in your collection. Y'all folks have a good evening. Talk to you soon.